Okay, hello everyone. This is Zarina El-Amin Naeem, and we're here to start our webinar this evening, well, evening my time, Eastern Standard Time, on how to become a published author in 2015. So I am using a new software, so I'm going to have you guys sort of bear with me. Technology is great when it works great, and if anything happens to happen, I'm sorry. I apologize now in the beginning, but I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. So if you all can hear me, please check in to the right. On the right of your screen, you should see a chat box, and you should be able to type into that chat box. So I want you to check in by sharing your name, where you're joining us from, and if you already have a subject for your book, go ahead and share your book subject as well. So type in your name, city, and where you're coming from. Okay, wonderful. So we have Halima from Houston who's doing a fiction book. So it's going to be loosely based on her life. So maybe something like a memoir. And then we have Tamara who's doing poetry and other creative writings. Tamara, oh, you're from Holland. I think that's not your last name, right? You're from Holland, perhaps. Great. So Kia is from Michigan. She's doing a fiction book. We have B. Watts. Yes, I can see you chatting in. So Corey from Baltimore, Maryland. Corey, if you have a book topic, go ahead and type that in so we can see what you're working on. Wonderful. Great. So I'm excited to see. We don't have that many nonfiction. We have some poetry, but it looks like a lot of you guys are working on fiction books. So if you all have begun your draft, if you have already started your draft, let me know that. So just type in, if you already started your draft for your book, go ahead, type in yes. If you haven't, then type in no. All right, so B. Watts from Houston, Texas is on poetry. Great. So we're happy to see that. So you're doing poetry. B, you can also type into the public chat, and that way other people will be able to see it as well. All right, so Nefertari from London is doing some short stories and a biography. Great, great. Shelly from Louisiana is doing the inspirational self-help. Okay, great. Tamara from Michigan. Okay, nice to see you all. Good. So it looks like we have a really good group today. All right, so Cindy has started her book draft. Great, she has that. Shelly has hers. Corinthia is doing a self-help book. Okay, great. So if you have your book draft already, just type that in. Okay, Shar has already done her draft as well. Awesome. You guys are doing well. Look like you're going to be a really, really, really good bunch. So, okay, Tamara has several drafts. All right. So we're going to wait maybe one more minute and then we'll formally start here today. Pam, hello, Pam. Pam, where are you from? Let us know where you're from and if you have a book already in mind. What's your book subject? What are you working on? Is it a nonfiction? Is it a fiction book? And if you already know your subject, go ahead and type that in as well. All right. I like this software. It looks like it's going to work out great. So I'm excited about that. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started. So just a few logistics. Inside of this system that we're using, you're going to be able to type in questions and you can send those to me. So I'm going to make sure that I am able to answer as many questions as I can throughout the webinar. So feel free to type those in. I'm going to disable the public chat though, because I don't want you to get distracted like reading everyone's questions that they're typing in. So I'm going to disable that in a moment after our check-in section of our webinar. So no, so great. So if you all can see my screen, I want to make sure that you can see my screen, and I'm going to flick to the next slide just to make sure that you can see that. So if you can see my screen, go ahead and type in yes, you can see it. And I'm going to flick the slide. So you should be able to see my face, my picture now. So if you can see that, just go ahead and type in yes. So I know that you can see it, and we will be good to go. So are you all able to see that picture of me? Okay, Naomi, great. If you can see me, I want you guys to type in so I know that you can see that picture on the screen. Okay, Shelly, thank you. Thank you, Shelly. Appreciate that, so you can see my slides. All right, so Naomi is working on a book on Who Am I, Who Are You? Creating Successful Relationships. It's based on reading the facial structure. All right, Naomi, that's great. Sounds like you have done some work. All right, so I'm seeing yeses. I'm seeing yeses that you guys can see my screen as we're going along. All right, great. All right, so Romana is from Maryland. She's working on self-development. Wonderful, welcome. All right, so welcome everyone. I'm going to put the chat box on private, and we're going to get started. So hello, peace. My name is Zarina El-Amin Naeem. I am from Detroit, Michigan, and I'm really excited to be here with you all because by virtue of you being on this webinar, that tells me that you're not just a sayer, like you're actually a doer. You're someone who has a dream to put your book together, and you're actually taking the steps necessary to make it happen. And those are the type of people that I like to be around. So in today's webinar, we're going to really focus a lot on the process of self-publishing. So my goal is to take you through 5 phases. And these are the 5 phases that I take my private clients as well as my group publishing clients through. These are the things that I want you to know about the book publishing process so that you can make an educated decision for yourself how you're going to go about getting your book done. All right. So phase 1 is sort of the inner work that you need to do as an author. Phase 2, and I'm going to go, of course, in depth into these phases throughout the webinar. But phase 2 is how do you build a solid publishing plan for your book? Phase 3 is how do you get this stuff out of your head? You have everything upside in your head. You know, your book is there. You've been holding on to it. How do you get it out of your head and into draft format so that it can actually be edited and then put into your final book format? So phase 4 is, okay, you cannot do this alone. So how do you build your book dream team to help you with the production of your book? And phase 5 is, okay, you got a dynamic book. Now, how do you actually get it out to the world? And if you are interested, if this is part of your goal for your book, is how can you use the same book material as a launch for possibly a full-time career or at least multiple streams of income. All right. So I want to really congratulate you all on even coming into this webinar, because again, there are over what they said, like something like 200 million people in the United States alone say that they want to publish a book. And yes, we do have thousands of books that are published every year, but it's nowhere near like 200 million, right? So the fact that you're on this webinar is taking a huge step. And I think that you all should really be proud of yourselves just for really, you know, taking a step and actually doing it, going about it. So, all right. So naturally, I am not going to be able to cover every single thing about book publishing in this webinar because we have, you know, a limited amount of time. We're only going to be here at least 2 hours or so. that being said, I did kind of jam pack it with a lot of stuff. But if there are any things that you still have questions on, feel free to type those in, and I will make an effort to answer all of the questions that I can at the end, and maybe throughout the webinar as we go along, and then also afterwards as well. So no question is dumb. You know, you heard that saying, like the only stupid question is the one you don't ask. So whatever question that you have that you've been thinking about, go ahead and type that in, and I will make sure that I try to answer it. You're in the beginning phases, right? This is something that you've maybe been thinking about. This may be your first time for publishing a book. So nobody expects you to know everything that you have to do. Right now, it's enough that you say you want to do it. So I just don't want you to feel inhibited. I want you to ask whatever questions you want to ask, because this is your time. My kids are with my mother, so I blocked this time off just for you. You won't have any distractions. No little kid is going to come in here running, asking me for anything at this moment. So that means I'm focused on answering all of your questions. All right. So my job is to make sure I present the information to you, and I'm going to ask for you to be receptive to it and to just ask questions. That's it. All right. So let's go. At the end of the webinar, I'm going to give you guys a free gift, and I'm going to share a little bit of information about my self-published system. And this is for those people who really want to get their books done, you know, within 2015. So that's going to come a little bit later. Okay. All right. So who am I? So I am Zarina El-Amin Naeem. I started this publishing journey about like 7 years ago or so. And it started with this book here, Jihad of the Soul, Singlehood and the Search for Love in Muslim America. And I'll be honest with you, I had no clue at all what I was doing when I first started with publishing. I had just completed my master's in anthropology, and I wrote this thesis paper, you know, this huge paper. I did this study on Muslim singlehood, committed a year of my life to researching and asking people about singlehood within Muslim America. And I had this, you know, dynamic thesis. And normally when you finish your thesis, it just sits on the shelf at the library. And so people knew that I had done the study. They wanted to hear the results. And I couldn't just give them the thesis, like who's going to read that, you know? So I figured that the easiest way for me to get it out to the population, to the folks that actually wanted to hear about it, was for me to publish this book. So I started reading all types of books on self-publishing. I started joining associations, joining forums, joining groups. I mean, I did it all. Like I spent, I don't know how much money, like just reading all these books. And then of course I started going to the library because, hey, that's free. So I didn't have to spend my money all the time on these books. I would go to the library and check them out and read them. So, you know, I was able to learn a lot, and I was able to be successful in the end. You know, for my book, this book, Jihad of the Soul, has sold, you know, thousands of copies. It's being used as a textbook in universities. It's around the world. You know, I have a worldwide readership. So it was very successful in the end. However, I spent a lot of money that I did not need to spend. And I also wasted a lot of time. I didn't have a clear marketing plan in the beginning. I just kind of was like, just going at it, you know, reading this book, implement this, do that. And I didn't have a full plan. So not having this full plan really slowed my process down. But in the end, you know, like I said, it was successful, but I needed to find a different way to do it. So when I decided to publish these calendars, some of you all may know about beautifully wrapped calendars. I said that I was going to have to go about it in a different way. So I put the calendar together, and for me, this calendar was really a way for me to highlight women around the world. And again, I'm in anthropology. So highlight women from around the world and be able to use that to bring different folks together. So these calendars too have a worldwide readership. They're all over. People are beginning to know the name of Beautifully Wrapped more and more. But even still, I learned a lot of, I got over a lot of the mistakes I did with my first book, but I still didn't build a strong enough marketing plan when I started with Beautifully Wrapped. Like now I'm in my 4th year, and I'll skip down so you can sort of see some of the other calendars. But we're now in 2015. Now I've already pretty much almost sold out of the calendars. The calendars aren't even here yet. Now, comparing that to my first calendar, like, wow, it's a huge improvement. So what I'm saying is that when you start out on this journey, you're going to make mistakes if you don't go about it in the right way. Don't just go at it haphazardly. So even you joining this webinar to give you an overview of the steps that you need is going to help you it's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of effort. All right, so I want to jump back because within the Beautifully Wrapped calendars, people began to see me and know that I was publishing. And so my father was my first private client. So he came to me with all of these papers. He had been writing these articles, these newspaper articles for like the last 12 years or something. So he had all of these articles on all these floppy disks. Some of them were just in the actual paper. He couldn't find the article anymore. And he kept telling me that he wanted to publish this book, but he didn't really know how to go about doing it. And so at that time, I was like, okay, well, I know what you need to do, but I'm the daughter, right? So the parents don't always listen to the kids. In the beginning. So he didn't really kind of take me seriously. And so he started doing his own research online with all of these little like Lulu and Exilibris. I forgot how you pronounce it, but you know, these places. And so I said, okay, that's fine. You want to go through it that way? Then great, more power to you. I'll be able to save my time and do something else. But when I started looking at the quotes that they gave him, they were like astronomical. I mean, he was going to be spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for stuff that did not cost that much at all. How do I know? Because I'd already done it. So I ended up taking him on. And as the good daughter I am, you know, I helped my father to publish his book. So his book has gone on. They have used it in a multitude of places now as a reading group book, a study group book. So churches, masjids, student groups are using this book, and that's exactly what his goal was. His goal was to compile all the things that he had been working on for years and years and years, and for this book to be in the format where it can be useful for a broader audience. So he was able to really achieve the goals that he set out for his book. Okay. So this other calendar is another one that we published, Arabic Calligraphy, which is a dynamic street artist. If you don't know him, then look him up. All right, so let's jump. Oh, sorry. Like Glue is the latest book that I just published now. So this is the little book of marriage advice we should have stuck to from the beginning. So it's with my husband, who is a psychologist, and then myself. So we compiled about 160 or so different tips around marriage, and these are things that helped us to repair our marriage when we got to a little rocky time, and also things that help Halim's clients and other folks as well. So this is our latest book, Like Glue. So now, why should you self-publish? So there are a lot of reasons that you should self-publish, and reasons that people go for self-publishing versus traditional publishing, but these are the main 4. So one is time. When you self-publish, you have control over the time. If you decide to traditionally publish a book, first you have to find an agent. That's going to take you months to secure an agent. After you find that agent, the agent will then sell your manuscript to a publisher, traditional publisher, and that, of course, takes time. You're going to get lots of rejections. It's inevitable. That's just part of the process. But you get all of these rejections, and then your manuscript will hopefully eventually get sold to a publisher. And then after that, you still have to wait at least 18 at least 12 to 18 months or so to go through their process before your book is out. So in the end, this can be like a couple of years, maybe even, up to 3 years or so for you to get your book out. So like me, for example, when I published Jihad of the Soul, there was a conference that was coming up that I knew a large concentration of my target audience was going to be attending. So I wanted my book at that conference. If I had tried to go with the traditional route of publishing, I would have been able to go to that conference, but yeah, like 3 years later. So that was not going to work. So when you self-publish, you control your time frame. You can get this book out in the matter of weeks or months. You are able to have control over that. So that's one of the big reasons. Now, number 2 is for profit. When you self-publish, you are in control. You set the price of your book. You also set the discounts for your book, and we'll come to discounts a little bit later. So that means that you are able to reap more of the profits from your book. Now, of course, self-publishing means that you're independently publishing, which means you're financing the project. And that's the reason why you have full control over the profits. When you traditionally publish, the going rate is somewhere between 8 to 12% or so is what you'll receive as a royalty from a traditional publisher. Now, some publishers will give you an advance. For first-time authors, that's usually, maybe a couple of $1,000s and maybe up to 10,000 or so. That is not a fee for having your book. That's not like a check that you just get that's free and clear. That is an advance, which means that once you sell the copies, they get their money back, and then you start to get your 8 to 12% of the profits. When you self-publish the book, you have control over the budget, and you also are going to reap a lot more of the profits from your book as well. So that's one of the major reasons why people choose to self-publish as well. So let me give you an example of someone who just made it big with self-publishing. Now, this is this lady, Amanda Hocking. So she decided to self-publish after receiving so many rejections for her novels that she had written. She had a full computer of novels or so. So she uploaded her books to Amazon for Kindle, and that's where she started with her self-publishing journey. 1 book, then 2 books, then 3 books, and then thousands. And so now she's a millionaire just by having self-published her books. So you can make a lot of money in self-publishing. However, if you read some of the articles from Amanda, she tells you that don't think that you can just go at it and it's just all luck. There's some work that has to go into getting millions of dollars of your books sold. So it just doesn't happen. It's just not like, oh, I'm going to upload this to Kindle and bam, next week I'm going to be a millionaire. That's not how it works. So there are some things that you need to do. But what I gave you this example to show you that if you do the work, self-publishing can be very, very, very rewarding financially. Now, the third thing is that you as a self-publisher have ownership over your book. Like, you wrote this baby, right? So when you self-publish, you have ownership over the book itself. When you sell your book to a publisher, they own the rights to that book. And a lot of times new publishers, or new authors rather, are not very keen on the logistics and the law that goes into these contracts, these publishing contracts. So just signing away rights. What if you decide you want your book to be translated into Spanish? Can you do that on your own, or does the publisher own your book? So those types of things come up. When you self-publish, it's no question. You own it. You are publishing it. You own it. There is no question about that. So that is really one of the major reasons people self-publish as well. Okay, and then lastly, the big thing is that you have creative control. And for a lot of people, like me and people who are really keen on particular messages, like the messages that we want to see in the world. And sometimes our messages are not the things that are produced by mainstream media. You know, like the books that I'm putting out, they're not always the things that get the most play on ABC or CNN or whatever, you know. So when you self-publish, though, you have full creative control. You can say that I'm not diluting my message to make it more appealing to the mass audience. You can say, I really want this type of cover or this look or this feel on the cover. So you have full creative control of your book. And those are some of the reasons that a lot of us choose to self-publish. Now, I told you about those phases, right? The 5 phases that you're going to go through for publishing. So number 1 is the inner work. And when I talk about inner work, I mean getting clear in the beginning on why you are publishing your book. Why? What are you doing this for? So a lot of people would say, I'm publishing just to get my word out there. Like that's all they care about. And that's laudable. But if you're publishing because you want to make money from the book, then you need to state that. Why? Because whatever your goals are for your book is going to dictate not only how the book is written, you know, the organization of the book, but also, of course, what you do with your marketing. So are you publishing to advance an agenda? Maybe you have a message that you want to get out there. Perhaps you're going to use this book to brand yourself as an expert in your field. Maybe you just want to make an impact. You know, you want to make your mark with your book. You're perhaps going to use your book to generate multiple streams of income, create some passive income for you, because your book is an asset. And I'll get to that later on. And then maybe the last thing is you want to create a legacy for your family. You know, a lot of people come to me and they say, I want my grandchildren and my great-great-grandchildren to be able to know me through my words. And so they are maybe not so concerned about making $1 million from the sale of their book. They want this book to be there so that their children and their future generations know who they are. Now, the important thing is that whatever your reason is that you're clear. You know why you're publishing, and you don't let someone else's goal turn into your goal. So a lot of people are focused on the money. They say, okay, I want to make a lot of money with my book. And that's great. But if you want to make a lot of money, but you also really care about maybe the number of readers that you reach, for example, then you want to be really clear on that, because you can make a lot of money from your book, but maybe only 200 people read it. I mean, and that's going to come from spinoffs. You'll see that a little bit later in the webinar. So you need to be clear on whatever your goals are for you. And don't say, oh, I only care about the number of people I'm reaching with my book. Like, if that's your true message, then great. If that's your true goal, then great. But 2 years from now, if you've only made like $400 from your book, like, don't be mad, because you just said that you weren't really concerned about how much money you were going to make with your book. You were more concerned with how many readers read your message. So don't take anyone else's goal to be your goal. You need to get clear on why you are publishing, what you want to achieve out of this process. Now, when you are clear, part of doing the inner work is that you need to have discipline, and you need to be ready to put in the work as an author. And you need to adjust your mindset, because now you're an author. And I'll tell you, there is nothing like being an author. When you're an author, people automatically see you as an authority figure in whatever subject you decide to write on. Sometimes not even in the subject that you decided to write on, just in general, just because you put together a book. And if you look at that, it's not just now in the 2000s, 2010, 2015. From the beginning of time, since books came out, from clay tablets through the printing press, through Chinese blocking, all those things, into the written word, when you have an author, human beings have always, I guess, been concerned with creating messages that outlive themselves. And so books are extremely powerful. And when you are an author, you're putting yourself in a certain category of people. Because I mentioned earlier, like 200 million Americans say they want to publish a book, but not all of them do. So those people that do are in a special category. But as an author, you need to build up your author armor. Know that you deserve to write this book. Some people say, well, I don't know if I really have anything fresh in order to put out there into the world. Well, I believe truly that if the creator put this message on your heart, like if you're sitting here thinking that, hey, I've been thinking about this book, I have this message I want to get out, that message is in your heart for a reason. And so you are the correct person to get the book done, to put it out there. You are the one who should author and put this message into the world. So you deserve to write the book. You're smart enough. You have all that you need, and believe that, yes, people will want to read the book and they will want to learn from your work. You don't have to be Steve Harvey. You don't have to be Oprah. You don't have to even be like, Brian Tracy or Les Brown or any of those people that have these big, big, big names. You are you in and of itself, and that is enough. So you don't have to be anyone else. You are yourself. So I want you to get into the mindset that, yes, I am going to write this book, and I am good enough to write the book. All right. So in other words, I want you to claim it. I want you to claim, even today, right now, you guys are all on mute. So I want you to say, I am an author. Like, say it to yourself and make yourself believe it, because you're on this webinar for a reason. And that means that you want to get this book done. So I need you to believe it in your brain and also in your heart that you are the author. You can even begin to introduce yourself to other folks in a new way. So claim the fact that you're the author of the forthcoming book, such and such and such and such. Like one young lady said she was writing a book on poetry. If you already have a name for that book, tell people, I'm the author of the forthcoming book on poetry, such and such, or whatever. The fact is that the more you bring it to yourself and you train your brain to think in the mindset of, I'm an author, I'm writing this book, I'm getting it done. That means that this will be your year. If it's just an idea and it's just like, oh, wouldn't it be nice? It would be so nice to write a book one day, 25 years from now, then you're kind of just wasting your time. And honestly, you're wasting your mental energy. You don't want that mental energy. It's going to feel awesome when you actually get this book done. So claim it from yourself. Claim it for yourself. All right. So that's some of the inner work that you need to do. Now, your target audience. Now, their target audience. What I mean by this is that when you're working on yourself, you also need to know who you are writing for. So a lot of people make the mistake, and they come to me and they say, Zarina, this book is for everyone. Everyone can benefit from this book. Man, woman, child, this book is for the entire world. I want everyone to read this book. Well, here's the thing, boo. Like, the world is like, there are billions of people in this world. Even the best, like the number one sellers have sold something like millions of copies, which tells you that that's not everybody, right? So if you are able to really hammer down into who it is that you're going to be able to reach with your book, you will have a much greater success. So let me give you an example. Let's say your book is on finance and you're writing a book on how to make money in your spare time. And this is an example I use a lot. But let's say the book is by Miss Money Maven. Hey, I like that name. So you say, okay, Zarina, my book is for people who want to make money. That's better than everybody, right? But that's still a lot of people. Like, who doesn't want to make money? Everybody wants to make money. So I need you to kind of be a little bit more specific. So let's say you say, well, I want to focus on women who want to make money. Well, that's still like half the population. I mean, that's still quite of a large number, right? So be a little bit more specific. Now, let's say you say mothers. You want to focus on mothers who want to make money. This is getting a lot better because you're able to now really put yourself in the mindset of who it is that you're really trying to reach. But let's go a little bit deeper. So let's say you say stay-at-home mothers. You want to reach Those women who are at home, they're stay-at-home moms, right? So you want to reach those. But you can even go further and say you want to reach stay-at-home mothers with elementary age children. So the point is that the deeper you go, when you identify a specific niche market, you are going to have much bigger results. So target small in order to achieve big results. Now, how do you find your target audience? When you've identified who it is that you're writing for, you can think about what magazines do they read, what websites do they visit, how do they dress, where do they shop, are they religious? If so, then where do they go for that spiritual upliftment? What are their hobbies? Where do they eat? Where do they enjoy recreation? So the point is that you need to intimately know who your reader is, because you don't have millions and millions of dollars just to be thrown out there for marketing. You need to be very specific on how you're going to reach your audience. And you can't do that without knowing your reader intimately. So really pick a specific market for your book. And don't be afraid to say stay-at-home mothers with elementary age children, like thinking that's too small of a niche. Think about how many millions of stay-at-home mothers there are with elementary age children, even in the United States alone. That's a huge number, right? I mean, millions of people. So if you just targeted that small niche, you will be able to have a lot, even still, a lot of people that are going to find your book. So don't be afraid to have your niche. Okay, now a solid plan. Starting with a timeline. We've already talked about your target audience, so you know who you're writing for. Now your timeline. So a lot of the people that come to me have often been thinking about writing a book for a long time, and they usually want to get it out within the next 6 months to a year. So that's kind of my approach to the publishing system, is how you can get your book out within the next 6 months to a year. So what you want to do is to set a launch date, and then you want to work backwards from that. So you set a date and then you work backwards. So for the writing, a lot, maybe 1 to 2 months for the writing of the book. Self-edit, maybe 2 weeks. Professional edit, 1 to 2 months. Reviews and testimonials, that is getting other people to read your work and then give you a review, 1 month. These would be not professional reviews. So if you're going to like Publishers Weekly or those types of review places, you need to build in 3 months. But for regular reviews and testimonials, a month should suffice. So building your platform as an author, we'll come to that a little bit later, so you know exactly what I mean. But that is continuous. That's something you're going to do throughout the time. And then production for the book is going to be about a month or so. So, and then you're going to launch, right? You're going to have an actual launch. So when you pick your launch date, for marketing purposes, if you can, a lot of people like to pick a date that goes along with the subject of their book. So if you're writing a relationship book, maybe you put it out around Valentine's Day, or something that is popular in mainstream society, so that you can tie into that, and so that media will be more inclined to share your book because it fits what they're talking about at that time. So if you're writing a book on saving money on gifts, maybe you put it out around Christmas time or Eid time, depending upon your target audience. For women, do women's history. So you want to think about popular holidays, popular cultural things, and then also what's happening in the world. So if you can, the more timely you can make your book launch, the easier it will be for you to market it. Now, this is not something you must do. You don't have to tie your book launch to an event. It's just a marketing tactic. So if you just say that I want to get my book out by June 1st, some of my authors in my group program, they are uploading their timelines now. So I was looking at some of their timelines, and like a couple of them said they want to get their books out by June 1st. So they said June 1st. I said, okay. So you pick that date. So now you need to go backwards from there so that you know what you need to do this week, next week, this month, next month, so that by May, like May's not turning around, and you're talking about you wanted to have your book out in June, and you haven't had your edit, you haven't done the cover design, you haven't done anything that you needed to do for that. So that's why you really want to put your launch at a certain date and then work back from that to create your timeline. All right. Okay. So this is like a sample 6-month timeline. So first month, you're going to plan, write, build your platform. Month 2, you're going to write, build your platform. Month 3, you're going to edit, do your cover design, do your website, and build your platform. Month 4, edit, reviews, platform. Month 5, the interior design, promotion, organizing your launch, and then building your platform. You see, platform is all the way around, and I'll get to that again a little bit later on. Then month 6, you want to print, you want to do your online sales, and then you want to launch, right? So this is a sample 6-month timeline. So I actually want to hear from you all. Just type into the chat box and let me know, just looking at this slide here for the timeline. You don't have to know exactly, but just maybe type in a month. So what month next year do you want to have your book complete, like done? When do you want to see your book done? And you can tie it to either a particular holiday or something that's happened in popular culture, or you can just say maybe 6 months from now, 7 months from now. But I want to hear from you. When do you want to have your books in hand and ready to go for sale? Now, the reason that you need to have this timeline is because if you don't have a timeline, you know how they say plan to fail. I can't think of that. If you plan to fail, I can't think of it. I can't think of the saying. But basically, you need to have a plan, boo, because if you don't have a plan, then you're just going to be kind of living, and it's not going to actually come apart. I mean, it's not going to actually come together. So, okay, so I see August, I see October, I see April 1st. All right, so April 1st is not too far away. I see October. Okay, so it looks like a lot of you guys are shooting for October, like 9 to 10 months or so from now. Okay, great. So you have plenty of time in order to get this done. So part of your homework is going to be to come up with a timeline for yourself, write it out, for you. All right. So Adam says July. Okay. And thank you, Romana. If you plan, let me see this statement I was trying to say. If you plan to fail, then if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. Yes. Thank you. I could not remember what that was. All right. So let's keep going because we got a lot to get through. Okay. So creating a budget for your book. So how much is this stuff going to cost you, right? So the ISBN numbers, and I'm going to come to ISBN in a second, but like about $300. Editing. Oh, let me say before I give you these numbers that you can create a book with a budget of $100. You can create a book with a budget of $100,000. You really need to just know what your budget is that you have, and then you're going to have to work it. Whatever you have, then you have to work it. So if you know that you only have $500 max, then you're not going to be able to hire the top designer for your book. You may not even be able to get a full slew of ISBN numbers in the beginning. So this is sort of a mid-range budget. So ISBN numbers, $300. Editing, $600 and up. Editing, $600 and up. Interior design, $100 to $500. Cover design, $150 to $1,500. Marketing, $1,500. And then you may have a website, which can be, very nominal, and your first run of books. So let's have an example here. So let's say the editing, design, and the initial setup and website for you cost around $2,000. Let's say you print the book. The book is going to cost $2.50 per book. That's just an average. And then let's say you print out 250 copies when you first start. So that would be $2.50. So that's $625. So that would be $2,625 for your expenses. And I'm really kind of hesitating. I don't really feel good about giving you these numbers because the budget can really vary. I mean, it honestly varies dramatically depending upon what type of edit you need for your book, what budget you have. But a lot of people ask me, so I felt like I should give you something. But yeah. So some expenses. Now let's go to the profits. So $250, 250 copies. Let's say you sell your book for $15 hand to hand, meaning these are not sold on Amazon. So hand to hand would be 3,750 gross, and then your expenses were 2,625. So you would have a profit of 1,125. So any book sold on Amazon would be a little bit less because when you sell with a retailer, that retailer has a discount that comes in. So industry discounts are between 55 and 65%, meaning on Amazon, on a $10 book, Amazon makes $5.50 for the sale of that book. The other $4.50 on a $10 book would cover the printing of the book as well as the publisher's cost if you have a separate publisher. Otherwise, the rest of that just comes to you. So this is why a lot of people really focus on selling their books by the case themselves outside of the retailers so that they can keep more of that profit for themselves. So these are some industry discounts. These are standards, right? If you're selling to Barnes and Noble, same exact thing. They have 55 to 65% discounts are automatically built in. Now, I mentioned ISBN numbers earlier. Some of you may not be familiar with what that is, but an ISBN number is sort of the social security number for your book. Every single book has this number on it. Every single book that is traditionally published and published in order to sell, I should say, will have an ISBN number. If you produce a book and you have no intention of making it available to retailers like Amazon or Barnes and Noble or Goodreads or any of these other type of retailers, then you don't need an ISBN number. It's strictly for when you're going to sell through the mainstream book industry. So ISBN numbers only come from one company, is Bowker.com. One ISBN number is $125. You can get 10 for $295. The thing about ISBN numbers is that the ISBN numbers are assigned to the publisher. What that means is that anyone can track who published this book by looking at or by looking up the ISBN number, right? When you go to CreateSpace and those types of companies, those of you who are already familiar with those, some of you all who are not, there are printing companies. We'll come to that later on in the webinar. But when you go to some of those places, they will say, we give you your ISBN number for free. You don't need to purchase it. What that means is that their company is the publisher on the record. That has pros and cons for you as the author. If you're coming at this whole process of publishing your book and you're not so interested in the business side of it, you only want to do this one book, that's it, then go ahead. Or if your budget is extremely limited and you don't have maybe the extra $125 to buy your ISBN number, then maybe you want to start with using their free ISBN. But that means that they are in control of it. When you want to take your book and maybe switch it from that place, from that online printer to another printer, then you have to get a whole new ISBN number because that ISBN number was owned by that company. It gets a little bit technical, but my point is that it's always best to have full creative control, full control and ownership over your product if you can. So buy your own ISBN numbers and you have that. Don't get suckered into those sites that say, we give you the free ISBN number and not really understanding what that means for you. So having your own is always the best way to go. And if you get the 295, you get 10 ISBN numbers. One more thing about ISBN numbers is that you need one ISBN number not only for every individual book that you do, but also for every version. So if you are going to publish your book on how to make money in 2015 with the stock market, and you're going to put that book out in print format, and then you also want to put that book out in electronic format as an ebook, those two different versions both need a different ISBN number. So that's two ISBN numbers already, right? So if you can, go ahead and get the 10. All right, so let's keep going. So now you have an idea of a little bit about what you need to do, but you still have your draft like in your head. How do you get it out? A lot of people say, man, I don't have the time. I want to write this book. I just don't have the time to get it out my head, or I don't know how to organize my thoughts. I have too many things going on. I don't know how to do it. So how do you finish your draft? The first thing is, when you're beginning to write the draft for your book, do not worry about the words. What that means is you don't care about the sentences. They don't have to be perfect at this point. You only care about getting it out of your head and onto paper. The great books are not written in drafts. Great books come from editing, meaning get the words out, and then the editing is what's going to polish and really make your book stand out and pop. In the beginning, don't worry about the words. So how can you organize your thoughts? There are a lot of different ways. If you talk to 10 different authors, you're going to get 10 different methods for how to organize your thoughts. But I thought I would share a few with you all that seem to work really well for my clients. So number one is this binder method. Just go to the dollar store or Target or whatever and get one of those 3-ring binders. That's going to become your mock book. So put anything in there. You're going to put any notes that you want to write on your book, any articles that come up that you think are interesting. Put those in your binder. Maybe make a little cover for your binders to slide that in. What you're doing is you're organizing your thoughts, and you're also, again, making this real for yourself. You're claiming that you are going to have this book. So Shar says she wants her book out by March. So Shar, get you a book binder, put all your stuff together, organize it so that you can really go through it and you know what you need to do in order to add and subtract from the book. A journal is the same way. You can add, write things in the journal. Journals don't work for me as well because I'm usually kind of printing out articles and things like that. So I use a lot of mixed media. So journals don't work for me that well, but if that works for you, then go, hey, do it. Storyboard. Now, this is a way to actually get the thoughts out. So imagine in your room, you have a big spread of butcher paper on your wall, right? And so basically you're going to do a brain dump. Let's go back to our finance topic. Well, finance is not something I really know that much about, like Spark. Let's go to marriage. I know about that. So let's say you want to write a book about marriage and you have all these different ideas. So you put this huge sheet of paper or a whiteboard or whatever on your wall, and then you just do a brain dump. What is it that people need to know? Okay, they need to know about communication. They need to know about compromise. They need to know about not feeling like they're always in control. They need to know about how to really give of themselves. So you just basically do a brain dump. Just write everything that you can think about your subject down. Get it all out of your head and onto your paper. You're not worrying about words. You're not worrying about, oh, this is chapter 1 and this is chapter 10. You're not worried about that. At this point, you just want to get it all out onto your paper. That's going to just clear your brain, get it out. Once you get that out onto your paper, then you can start to organize into bigger sections. So let's say you say, well, this whole area here is about communication. So maybe you have 5 different things that are all under the subject of communication. So you put communication, and then you do that with other things that you have already brainstormed. So what you're doing now is sort of you're picking out the big ideas, and those big ideas will become the chapters for your book, right? And you have some idea of what's going to go in those chapters. And then you just keep going from there, adding details and going back and refining and organizing it. So that's a way that you can just get it out of your head and get it down onto paper. For those of you who are interested in the outline method, just go to my website, enlivenyoursoul.com. In the blog, I have already written out a full way for you to use the outline method. And that's something that I use to really get my ideas out of my head and down onto paper. Now, if you're not someone who really likes to type, or maybe you're just not you don't like writing, so that's not your forte, you can hire a writing coach or a ghostwriter. And that ghostwriter, it will interview you, get all of your thoughts, and then they will go about and write the actual book itself. So you have options for getting this stuff out of your head. But the main thing is, in the beginning, don't worry about the words, don't worry about the sentence, don't worry about grammar. All you're doing is getting the stuff out of your head and down onto paper. All right? Now, when you start, especially for you nonfiction writers, and I shouldn't say that, well, really for everyone, you want to begin with doing an inventory of what you've already done. A lot of times you have a lot of material that you can already use, that you can use this material. So scan your old emails, messages, posts, any articles that you wrote a long time ago, any old papers. Maybe your girlfriend texted you about this subject and you text her back, whatever. You want to take inventory of what you already have, because usually the subjects that we're really passionate about writing about are things that have either been on our heart for a long time, or some way maybe we work in that subject. So you may have some things that you can already use. So take inventory of what you have, print anything out, put it in your book binder, or if you're a computer person, then put that into maybe Evernote or something like that, or you can organize everything on your computer. So don't slip on what you already have, because you may have some things that can really be the foundation for your book already. Okay. All right. Now, I mentioned about the ghostwriter, but if you don't like typing, use a dictation software. You know how we have these smartphones and you speak your text into the phone and it texts the person? You can also do that same thing for your book. Just look for an app or Google free dictation software, and those programs will come up. So you can speak your book into existence if that's going to make it easier for you. And then, of course, you're going to edit it from there. But use whatever you need to use in order to get that first draft out of your head and onto paper. All right, so number 4, now you have your draft. This thing has got to be polished. And I call this your book dream team. So these are the people who are going to help you polish your book so that it can reach the market in the way that you want it to reach. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter if you're, one of our regular people like we are, we don't have this huge name, or if you're Steve Harvey or Oprah or whatever. Every single book that stands up to standards and that is well put together and it's a quality book has had other people look at it. They didn't go at that alone. So depending upon your budget, that'll tell you what kind of people you can bring on, or maybe you need to go down to the community college or something and ask for some help there, whatever, but get some people to help you. Okay, so who do you need? Perhaps a writing coach, a ghostwriter, if you really need some help kind of structuring the book itself. You need an editor. We'll come to that in a minute. A graphic designer, interior designer. You need someone perhaps to help you with web design, maybe a marketing expert or a publishing strategist to help you. Now, secret tip, whenever you are hiring any professional for any job, whether it's with this book or anything else, get a sample and get quotes. Get a sample and get quotes. Get it in writing. get things down, because people will tell you, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that, or they may even sound really well. You know, maybe they use some really great words and they have perfect diction on the phone and you think they're just so smart. But if you don't get these samples and get quotes from everyone, you stand a chance to really get bit. So make sure you do that. Take the time to do that. Now, some sites that you can start to find professionals from. Editors, you can get them from Editorial Freelance Association. You can look up those type of sites. Independent Book Publishers Association, Elance, Fiverr, Guru. These are all places that you can usually post your job up. You can say, you know, looking for an editor for a 90,000 word novel and needed by March or something, you know. So you can post up your job and then you'll get responses from there. And usually you get way more responses than you need. So you have to go through and evaluate them. Now, let's come to editing, because editing is extremely important. And editing is one of the reasons why some people say we have way too many garbage self-published books out there. Because some people think that, oh, I wrote it in Microsoft Word and I wrote this book, they just slap it between two covers and then send it out there, like without any editing, without anyone looking at it, and it's just not quality. It's just really bad. So everyone needs an editor. There are different types of editing. At the deepest level, you would have a developmental or structural edit. That is someone who goes in and helps you with the organization of your book. They look at the big picture, what you're trying to achieve. What are the areas that you have included? Are there some things you need to add? Are there some things you need to eliminate? So that's at that big structural level. Then you would have a copy or a line editor. This is someone who looks at your factual errors. You know, they kind of see the big problems that are not as big as developmental, but line by line, they're going through and looking for other errors. And then at the basic level, you'll have a proofreader. And so that's someone who just reads the text for grammatical errors. They go through and they are not going to really suggest like, oh, you really go off on a tangent in this part. You kind of need to bring it back. That's not their job at that point. Their job is really just to go in and find basic grammatical errors for you. So the type of edit that you need, it depends upon your writing level. It depends on what you're trying to do with your book. You may be able to get away without having a developmental or structural editor, and maybe you just need a copy editor. You know, maybe you need to start there. Or if you're really lost in your fiction, this is your first novel that you're writing, or you're doing a memoir and you have no clue how to go about it, how to build your characters, where to put the tension, where the plots, then maybe you need a structural editor, a developmental editor to help you. So you have to kind of decide what edit you need to go. And I'll tell you that it's not easy because this is your baby, right? Like you put your whole heart and soul into this book. And then you're like, they want to rip it apart. They want me to take out chapter 7. That was my best chapter. But it is necessary. An edit is only there to help you polish your work. So think of it as I am removing all of the grit and I'm polishing it. I'm making it as shiny as it can so that when it gets out there into the world, it really makes a difference. So it's not easy, but it is absolutely necessary to your final work. So selecting the right editor, you need to have, see what type of experience they have. Do they have good energy? Do they like your subject matter? Can you get a referral? If not a referral, then you want to have some reviews from them. How long are they going to take to do it? Do they have a sample chapter? Now I'm working with an author now who's writing her first novel, and we're in the process of finding her a developmental editor because she really needs one for her novel. So what I did was reached out to folks that already knew, and then I also posted on some sites. So we're interviewing all of the editors. A lot of editors seem to now only want to work through computer, but I always find that when you're doing these interviews and when you're trying to select an editor to work with you, it's easiest just to get on the phone and have a 45-minute conversation. Really talk to them and see, do you build a rapport with them? What's their approach? Did they read your sample chapter that you sent to them? You know, what did they get out of it? How did they feel about that? So don't be afraid to kind of spend a little bit of time to interview editors and really find the one that was going to work for you. Don't take the first one. At least interview, 4 or 5 different editors to go from there. All right, so that's on editing. Now, design. Isn't this terrible? Like, this book cover is terrible. So it's fake, so I don't feel bad about saying that, Ms. Rita Direct. But the whole thing is your book cover. Books are sold by the cover. It's no doubt about it. When people pick up a book, they look at the cover, they see it, and then you have like maybe 2 seconds for them to decide whether it sounds appealing or not, and they put it back down. So your cover has to have a good design. If you are on a strong, small budget and you don't have a lot of money to hire someone for a design, I would really suggest that you try to go to the colleges, see what you can get, but don't just try to do it yourself. If you can't draw 2 straight lines, don't think that you can just go on Microsoft Word and hammer out an awesome cover for your book. It's not going to happen. So this is one of the areas that you really want to invest some time and resources into. So I'll show you the cover again for his spiritual Adam. So Imam Abdullah El-Amin, he has a following in his area with his target audience. So using his image on the front cover was strategic so that people immediately recognize who this book is from, and he's smiling, it's inviting. The color blue is like a powerful type of blue color. He has the word power in his subtitle. So this type of cover was inviting. Also, the name, the spiritual Adam, it's in big, bold print. When you shop on Amazon, and all of you guys have done it, right? So when you shop on Amazon, you normally see those little small thumbnails. And when you are looking for books in a really that small of a size, you need to have the font for the title as large as possible. So that's going to help your book be seen, right? Nice, easy, crisp to go. So think about some things, some messages, some images that really portray what you want for your book. I'm going to take a sip of tea. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Now, the interior design. This is another area that does require some, some thought or some skill. Sometimes people think they could just type it out in Microsoft Word. Now, when you're doing a short document in Word, it maybe can be fine. But when you're starting to do a longer, you have, 200-page document, and you're trying to format that for the actual book into Microsoft Word, it becomes like hell. It's really difficult to work with. So there are professional products like InDesign that people use in order to do the layout for the book. The interior of the book also goes with the feel of your book. If this is a serious book, then you need to use fonts, like perhaps fonts that lend itself to a more serious tone. Like the book in the middle is from Light Glue, the book on marriage. And we designed this book to be kind of fun. It has like just 1 tip per page. It's really quick, easy to read. And so we used a light and fun font. I would never do a book on finance with this type of font and this type of layout because it doesn't go together. So your interior layout must go with your genre. Memoirs have a certain feel. Novels have a certain feel. Nonfiction books have a certain feel. So look at other books in your genre and then find some that you really like and then model your book after that. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just find something else that looks like it's good and go with that. All right. Okay. So you guys, I see some questions coming in, and I think I'm going to pause in just a little bit. So go ahead and type in any questions that you have on the material I have covered so far. At the end of this, I am going to give you guys a free gift. For those who hang out to the end, I'll give you all a free gift at the end. But I really kind of want to know. So let me pause, actually. Just let me see if you can just say, yes, or I'm getting something out of it, or, you know, good information or something, just so I know that you're here with me and that you're getting something out of the webinar so far. So go ahead and type in whatever you feel like typing in, but you know, you're getting something out of it, good information, keep going, something, just so I don't feel like I'm here alone by myself talking to my screen, sharing information without anybody out there. Okay, good, good. Okay, great. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. Shireen, thank you. Thank you, Shireen. Thank you, Ramana. Thank you, Kia. Appreciate that. Latrina, I see your questions. I'll come back. All right. Wonderful. Nepsa, excellent information. Great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's try to keep going. All right, Shelly. Shelly says, yes, yes, yes. Totally motivated. I'm excited for you. Good. Great job. Okay, Bill Keith says, very helpful and much needed. Perfect timing. God sent. Halima, yes, yes. B is very inspired and learning a lot about herself and the project. Wonderful. Shireen is loving the webinar. Moses getting some great information. Tamara is very informative, inspiring. Keep going, please. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Adam, thank you. Velvet, thank you. Kia, thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Okay, so printing. Now, when you have a book, you know, most people wanted to have it printed. So there are options that you can use for printing your book. Number one is a print-on-demand company. What print-on-demand means is that they print the book, you order it. So let's say you order it from Amazon.com. That book is then printed because the order has been sent in. It was on demand. So that book is printed and then the book is sent out to the end customer. There are several places that you can use for that, like CreateSpace, like booklocker.com, Ingram Spark, Lightning Source. Some of the print-on-demand companies also have built-in distribution for them, like CreateSpace automatically is an Amazon company, so it's going to be on Amazon.com automatically. Ingram Spark is a Lightning Source company, so that automatically puts you on Amazon. It automatically also puts you into all of the other type of large retailers as well. That does not mean that you're automatically in a brick and mortar bookstore, though, however. That means that your book is available for order. So someone having your name, your title, your ISBN number can go to this retailer and order your book from there, and it is available. It does not mean that your book is automatically going to be into books in Barnes and Noble or something like that. So the benefit of using a print-on-demand company is that you do not have to have any inventory. You are going to pay a little bit more money per book itself, but you don't have to have an inventory. So you don't have to shell out thousands of dollars right at the beginning and get boxes and boxes of your book if that's not where you're at the moment. You can do it one by one by one. Now, offset printing, there are US companies and there are also overseas companies. I usually use a combination of these two depending upon what I am publishing. For my calendars, for example, I always go with overseas companies because I've gotten the best quality from there. I've tried to use US companies, but the best quality for the price has worked for me from overseas companies. So offset means that you have to get a certain quantity of books. Maybe it is 200, maybe it's 300, maybe it's 100, maybe it's 1,000, whatever, but you have to have a certain minimum quantity of books. And because you purchase that minimum quantity, your cost per unit is going to be lower. What that means, though, is that you have to have inventory, which is going to go back to your marketing plan. So you want to have a full marketing plan set for you to move those books. So if you, for example, know that you're a speaker, you're on the road, and you can sell perhaps 25 books every time you do a small workshop or such. then having a inventory of books is going to be useful for you, and getting those books as cheaply as possible is better. So using an offset company is something that you would want. It's going to fit your process and your goals, right? So you might want to do a combination of these. Maybe when you start, you just do the print on demand, and then as you build up your money, and then you can maybe get a quantity of books later on, as you go. Okay, so printing specs. When you print a book, of course, you have to look at the paper weight, the color, the cover weight, the cover finish. Is it matte? Is it laminated? And then the size. Now, books have standards. So if you go to Barnes and Noble and you go to a particular area and you look at books in this area on this shelf, you'll see that most of them fit a particular size. So a lot of novels are 5.5 by 8.5. A lot of self-fiction books are 6 by 9. It depends on what your genre is. So don't really guess about that. Again, you're just beginning. Find a book that you can model your book after, something that is in your genre, and then just model your book after that book. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. This is not the place to be all creative unless you already know that that's going to work for you. All right. Okay, so those are some things on printing specs. Now, again, just like with your book dream team, you need to evaluate the quotes that you get if you go with an offset, and even with a print on demand company. You want to know, what is the price? How much is this book going to cost me? How fast am I going to get it? What is the quality? Does this company have experience? When I send them an email, do they respond to me? You don't ever want to work with a company that you feel like you have to beg them in order to give them your money. Your money. This is your money. So you want to have a good relationship with them. Now, experience and quality. For Like Glue, I mentioned this book earlier, the latest book my husband and I did on marriage. I got about, I think about 8 quotes from different folks. And I knew that this book was a little bit different. I wanted to have it in square, and I wanted it to have like a certain type of feel to it. So I got all these quotes, and then some of the quotes that came back were awesome. I mean, it was talking about like $1.05 per copy. And I said, hey, like, this is perfect, And then I asked them, well, can you send me a sample book using my same printing specs that I'm sending you? So I got some of the samples in, and some of them were terrible. The paper, the words on the paper was really blurry, and it was across the board. One company in particular just stands out. I mean, it just really looked really bad. So if I had gone based on their quote alone and on their fancy website alone, I would have been burned, because I would have had boxes of books that did not fit the quality that I'm looking for. So you always need to ask for samples from the printers. You don't pay for those samples. They ship those to you on their dime. If you don't get a sample, then you're not going to get a contract with that printer. It's just that simple. Always get a sample. When you upload your books to Lightning Source, to Ingram Spark, to CreateSpace, they're going to give you the option for a proof. And I suggest that you order that proof, especially on your first book, because you need to know where everything lines up. Is your spine, the side of the book, the spine, is that coming out correctly? Are the images that you put in your book, was the resolution high enough for them to print out properly? So don't try to just skip on that step and think that, oh, it looks nice on the digital proof online, so I'll just get the book. No, take the time, build in the extra time, and order that proof from your printer. It's really, really, really important. Okay, so now look, all of these books, all of these traditional printed books, and then now we have these e-readers, right? So a lot of people ask me about ebooks versus the hard copy, the printed books. Now, back in 2007, digital books accounted for about 11%, and then print was about 89%. Now in 2012, digital was moving up to like 40%. Print was about 60%, and it's been going faster and faster and faster. Now, again, with your book plan, and I don't know exactly your plan for your book, so you may decide to do a combination of digital as well as print. I always do my books now in both. I'm going to have a print version for those people that like to feel books like I do. I want a book. Like if I'm going to have a book, especially if I'm putting the book out, I want to have it bound. I want to be able to see it, feel it, right? So that's just me. Now, if that doesn't fit what you're trying to do, then maybe going the strictly ebook route will work for you. I mentioned Amanda Hocking earlier, who made all these $1 million with self-publishing starting on Kindle. She didn't have a lot of money to go into printing the book itself, so she started on Kindle, and that's laudable. Go ahead, start with ebook versions if that fits. But basically, you need to have a plan that fits what you want to achieve, right? So your plan, you pick what's going to work with your plan. All right. Now, this is my favorite area, marketing and spinoffs. I used to suck at marketing, really. I shouldn't say that word. If my son was here, I wouldn't say it. But I used to be really, really bad at marketing because I didn't have that author mindset. And the author mindset is that I have been given this message for me to put out into the world so that it is useful, right? This message has come on my heart for me to be able to help somebody with it. So if I am too shy to put my material out there into the world, how are they going to benefit from it? Like God gave me that message for a reason. So who am I to just sit on it and just say, oh, I don't want to put it out. My face is on this or my name is on this, and really feel, just bad about marketing it. So marketing is only just getting your message out there so that you can reach the most amount of people and that you can be compensated for it. So if your goal is as an author to use your book in order to generate multiple streams of income, don't be afraid when people actually want to pay for your book. I used to have that problem as well. I had a problem with accepting money from people. I was always giving it out. Oh, here, you can just have the book. I still have that problem a little bit, but you have to get into the mindset that marketing is something that is necessary, and you have to start to love the marketing of your book. Don't be afraid of putting your message out there. It was given to you for a reason. Now, what I mean by spinoffs are that when you, what I mean by spinoffs are that when you put your book together, you can build this book as a launch for a full career. So for example, I have one of my clients that is launching a coaching career. So she's a life coach. She's putting together a book that kind of distills a lot of her best messages and practices, and how she really helps with her clients, how she helps her clients achieve the results they want to achieve. So she's using that book to cement herself within her genre, so that this book almost becomes the best business card ever. So now that they buy this book, they can really see what she's about. They can see her message. They can see her motivation. They can see how she goes about doing what she does. So the book then is more about getting additional clients for her and cementing herself as an expert in her field. So spinoffs means that you'll use your book to spin off a lot of other returns in other areas. So let's go through it first. Now, so when you're I want to go back to the marketing part though, before we get to spinoffs. I'm sorry, I always love spinoffs. It's like the number one thing on my mind. But marketing, the first thing you want to do when you're marketing your book is to activate your network. Again, you do not have to have a huge name in order to be successful in publishing your book. All of my clients, I tell them at a minimum, within 3 weeks, or 2 to 4 weeks of publishing that book, I want you to have your first 250 books sold, right? Now, you can do that before, or you can do within the first 2 to 4 weeks. I don't care, but when you jumpstart your book, you really want to have a strong foot out of the gate. So that means having your first 200 books sold. Who do you sell those first 250 books to? Your family, your friends, your coworkers, people that are in any professional associations that you're in, your classmates, your spiritual friends. Activate your network. Don't be afraid of telling these people that you already know, hey, I'm writing a book on such and such. This book is going to help people do this so that they can achieve this. You know, you're going to be able to share your message with those people, and you'll be surprised at the response you get from your network. Some of them are going to love you. They're going to say, oh, I'm so excited, Shar. Like, you're writing this book. You know, I knew you could do it. I always thought that you were going to write a book. And then you're going to get the haters. Some people are like, well, who do you think you are to write this book? Like, do you know about that? You don't have a PhD in this subject. Why do you think anybody's going to read your book? You're going to get both of those. Now, your job as an author is to be able to handle whatever criticism that you get. And I talked about this earlier, right? Like with your inner work that you're going to have to do. You have to build up your author armor, because some of that criticism that comes is going to be from a place that has nothing to do with you as the author. That's their own stuff. They just mad because they wanted to write a book, but they couldn't do it. So now they're going to hate on you because you're actually taking the steps. But as an author, I need you to know that you're going to get both response. You're going to get people that love you, and you're going to get a lot of the hate as well. When the hate comes, you want to evaluate the hate and look at, is there anything within here that is possibly some truth? Is there any truth, anything I can take from this to maybe build myself up and actually come back even stronger? Whatever the truth is, you take that and you reject the rest of it. Any of the other stuff, you let it go because it has nothing to do with you. Even that chick, Amanda Hocking, even the young lady, Amanda Hocking, who sold, you know, these $2 million worth of her books. When you look her up, you have a lot of people that say, these are the worst books ever. They say these books are not good. They're actually just, you know, really bad writing. So look at that. Like, she has millions of dollars from her books, but then she also has all of these people who are saying that her books are worth nothing. So be ready for the response that you're going to get. And just honestly, truthfully, do whatever you have to do to build up your inner author armor so that you can handle the response that you get. So now back to activating your network. Identify these people, send them an email, let them know that you're writing your book. Maybe you even start to dribble, build up your author platform, maybe on social media, like dribble out some material as you're going along. So let's say maybe you just finished your draft. Send that out on your status, like, hey, just finished my first draft on my book about such and such. You know, really excited or something. Like, you don't want to be annoying with it. Like, you don't want to just constantly tell people all the time, oh, I'm writing the book. I'm writing the book. I'm writing. Like, you want to be useful. You want to be in a place where the information that you're sharing is useful. And that's your place as an author. Whatever it is that you're doing, like, you want to be seen as someone who is going to be useful and helping. All right. So let these people know that you're writing your book so that you can get the first 250 books sold. Like, already, you have those 50 books sold already before you even publish. Okay. So now your marketing plan. We already talked about your ideal reader earlier. What I want you to think about is the places that have the largest concentration of your ideal reader. For example, let me go back to my beautifully wrapped calendars. When I first started off with selling those calendars, I sold them to individuals, like one to one to one to one, even with light glue. Well, we'll go back to the calendar, excuse me. So I sold them one to one to one to one. This last time, now for 2015, I sold a few one-to-one, but I really decided to sell them by the case. So the reason that I'm almost sold out is because I sold them by the case versus selling them one-to-one. So as an author, think about places that your targeted reader is in large concentrations. So that's why it's very important for you to have that particular niche that you're identifying, right? So you're not just saying this book is for everybody. You're really thinking about exactly who it is that you want to reach. So for Like Glue, this book on marriage that my husband and I put together, we were looking at like couples counseling type places, couples retreats, places that are doing workshops around marriage, places that can buy this book by the case. versus one-to-one. So that is going to be very important for you as the author, and it is a strategic part of your marketing plan to identify large organizations and companies that can buy your book by the case. Now, how do you reach your audience? Maybe social media, print media, blogs. You want to make sure that you have in your plan ways that you're going to reach your audience. Who is your competition? You don't have to be really intimate with, you don't have to know everything your competition says about your subject, but you do need to be knowledgeable. So know what other people have said about your topic. Don't just be ignorant about it. Someone tries to interview you and they're like, oh, well, such and such and such and such said this, and it's like the most popular book in your field and you have no clue what it is. So know a little bit about your competition. And then your branded message. Like, your branded message also goes to your story. Tell your story, because that's what sets you apart from everyone else. You have a unique set of experiences. You have a unique set of skills, and those things go into your branded message. The last thing that you need as far as your marketing plan is to know how you will measure your success. So remember, in the beginning, I talked about your goals that you're setting for your book. And if you have set for your book that you want to reach the maximum number of readers, for example, how are you going to measure that? Like, what does that really look like? So if you give your book away for free to 10,000 people, meaning 10,000 people have now read your book and they have got a chance to learn about your message, is that a success for you? Or do you need to have made 6 figures from your book? Whatever, but how will you measure your success for your book? Okay, so your platform, and I see we're at 7:30. I'm watching the time, and I am seeing questions that are coming in as well. So go ahead and keep typing those, and I will definitely answer all the questions at the end. And I'm also going to give a free gift to you guys at the end as well for sticking with me today. Okay, so your author platform, this means that these are the people that you're going to reach. You can start building your author platform now. Do not wait until 2 months or even 2 weeks before your book is out. So I saw some of you all said you want to publish your books in August. I think the earliest I saw was March or April. So what that means is that you need to build up your author platform. Have a website. You need to have a website. Your website should be www.yourname.com or whatever, maybe your field, your genre. The thing is that you want to be able to have a place online for people to be able to find you. So build up your email list. Your email list is critical, and it means that you have a list of people that you can launch to when your book is available, when it's ready. That is golden. You really need to do that. So there's some details that kind of come in here, but I just want to share with you all this bit of it. So a website, an email list, using your social media to build up your readership, really funneling those people back into you building up your email list, doing blogs, either guest blogs for other sites or having your own blog on your website. The main thing is, as an author, you want to make sure that you are building up your platform so that when you're launching your books, you have people to launch it to. Okay? Now, how can you market for free? I'm always looking for free stuff, especially when it comes to marketing, because marketing, can take a lot of time and money. So your email list, you can go to MailChimp and get a free email system right there for free. It's free up to 2,000 people. So take advantage of that. MailChimp.com. You can do a book signing at a local store, social media, Twitter, social media, Twitter, Google+, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Goodreads, and Amazon author pages. So you can set up on Amazon or set up on Goodreads an author page, which will have information about you. It'll have your bio. It will have your photo, your professional photo, not a little selfie that you took on your cell phone. You need a professional portrait of yourself that you're going to put up on Goodreads, on Amazon.com. Maybe you also use that picture on the back of your book. You can write guest posts for other blogs, contribute articles to offline periodicals, do some press releases, get reviews, other book bloggers, a virtual tour. So these are 10 free ways that you can market your book. It's your job as an author to always think about ways that you can market your book. Always, continuously, both from now while you're writing your book, all the way through the process of writing and the production of your book, through that into the end of when you're launching and beyond, right? So I really want you to have in your mindset that marketing is not something you're going to do once. It's something that is going to be continuous for you. If you're not really good at marketing, then that's an area that you might want to budget. Have someone that can at least give you a jump start and help in that area. But do not ignore it, because your books will just sit there. So don't ignore it. All right. So now we get back to these spin-offs. Yeah. So spin-offs is when your book like works for you, right? So you put this book together, and then maybe on your same subject. So for example, like our life coach. So she's writing a book about life coaching, or she's writing a book about helping women really achieve the goals they want to achieve in their life. So she's writing that book. That book, let's say the book will sell for $15. So the book itself will bring in less than $7 profit per book sold. But if that book can get her a client at $500 a month, for example, then you can see where the book itself is lending itself to creating multiple streams of income for her. So the book is something that sold the client on her and her method. And then she's able to generate multiple streams of income. So you can do webinars, you can do like private coaching, you can be a consultant on your subject, you can launch a speaking career, you can do audio and video courses. There are so many different things that you can do using your book material. But what I always tell my clients and how we design their books is that think about this end right now in the beginning before you even write the book. Because if you write it in a particular way that you can reuse the material easily, it will save you a lot of time and money as you go along. So if you know, for example, that you want to do a 12-week course on finding love or finding Mr. Right, and you wrote this book on how you can identify the right mate for you, then maybe you want to have 12 chapters in your book, and maybe every week you go over one chapter. So you can think about ways that the materials that you're putting together for your book are going to serve your end purpose, which is possibly doing some online courses or workshops or some other type of course. So you're not going to become a millionaire primarily from doing the book sales. I know I showed you Amanda Hocking earlier, and it's possible. I mean, I'm never saying it's not possible, but these spin-offs are where you're really going to be able to generate a lot more money. Even from my first book, like Jihad of the Soul, I put that book out, and I told you, like, I really didn't have a full plan when I put the book out, but I started to get speaking engagements from that. So if a university brings me in, they pay me $1,500 to do this little speech or so, then that book is an asset for me, right? This book is making money for me continuously. So you have to look at this as being an investment in your future. Whatever effort you're putting into this book is not just for now. This book can really work for you in the future. All right. So getting through all of this means that you need to implement. You can have all of this knowledge, but if you don't do anything with it, then you'll be here next year. Like, I really wish I had started working on that book, or 2 years or 3 years from now. So you need to take what you have and then implement it, right? Go from there. And I really want you to kind of feel like once you take the first step, you guys have already honestly taken the first step just by being on this webinar. So you've taken the first step. It's just like this ripple effect. Once you take the first step, it will go out, and you'll be surprised as to what you're going to attract, what help you'll receive, what's going to come to you. So Don't panic because it is easier than you think. All of these steps I'm giving you, and I know I packed a lot in here because I want to give you a full overview of the process so you at least kind of know, like you're not in the dark like I was, like, what do you mean about publishing? At least you know some general ideas. And of course, I cannot pack everything into this limited amount of time that we have here. So whatever I didn't cover that you still have questions, go ahead and type that in into the side, and we're going, okay, I see some questions coming in, so I'll get to those in just a moment. So I don't want you to panic because it is easier than you think. So I want to give you one quick example. Miss Alexandria Osborne, she is one of my clients that's going to be launching her book on December 18th. We are extremely proud about that. That's her wedding anniversary. She's in Tanzania. So this is her memoir about leaving the life of a well-to-do, suburbanite in America and moving to the bush of East Africa, So how did she learn to adapt with both the man-made and the natural obstacles? But when she came to me, she had this draft that needed polishing. She had no clue what she was going to do, how she was going to get the book cover, any of those things. And this is actually the draft cover here. So we're doing some final changes to her book cover now. But when you take the first steps and you actually reach out to get the support that you need, you'll be surprised as to what comes along. So now she's at the stage where she is actually going to launch this book, and she is super duper excited. I'm super duper excited to actually have helped her get to this point as well. So she's going to be moving forward with that. And her goals were to leave a legacy for her children. She really wanted her family and her people to know more about her in her words without somebody else saying, well, this was who your great aunt Alex was. She wanted them to know about her from her words. So my system, the self-published system, is for authors who want to easily finish their drafts. You want to reach your readers. You want to generate multiple streams of income, or maybe you want to leave a legacy with your book. So I have distilled everything that I've learned, all the mistakes that I made as well in the beginning, so you don't have to make those same mistakes, into an easy to follow system that even a newbie can follow. So now I have 3 children. I don't have a lot of time to put into following an extensive system. So I made this system nice and easy so that people with even a limited amount of time can be able to follow it, get your book done, and start to get the results that you want to receive with that. So I want you to have your book done, whatever your time frame was that you put. You put May, you put August, you put April, October, whatever it is. I want your fabulous book to be finished by that time frame, and I want you to be able to get whatever support you need in order to get it done. So in my system, you'll learn step by step how to create a clear publishing plan, including your budget and timeline. You're going to learn how to do the inner work that you need to do in order to cement yourself and really be able to live your life with the author, as an author. You're going to craft a dynamic book from draft to print. You're also going to devise a solid marketing plan so that you don't have cases of books just sitting there, or you don't have your book loaded up to Amazon for Kindle and no sales coming in. And then finally, you're going to learn how to use your book material to generate multiple streams of income, maybe from speaking, maybe from workshops. So for those of you who know that you are like serious and you really want to get your book done this 2015, I am going to gift to you all a free strategy session. Now, I honestly don't have, unlimited amounts of time. So I'm going to do it for the first 15 people that apply for it. So that means if you want to have a free book strategy session, I'm willing to give you 45 minutes of my time where you can tell me about your book idea. I'll go over that idea with you, maybe identify your targeted audience, and then give you some next steps that you can take in order to get your book complete. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be launching like my full group publishing program. So for those of you all who are looking to get more support, that's coming, down the line. But in the meantime, you all can sign up for this book strategy session and have some one-on-one time with me, where I'll be able to kind of really look at what you're trying to achieve for your book with your goals and get you all set. So that's for the first 15 people that that sign up. So I think I need to give you the link for that. I don't know if I put the link in here. Did I put the link? Oh, yes. So if you want to sign up for that, you can go to, I'll actually type this in here. So let me type it in for you so you can go there directly. One moment. So this is for people who are serious. Now, someone asked me the other day, like, what kind of authors do you work with? As long as your book is clean, that means it's not vulgar. It's not a lot of cursing and those types of things in there. I'm willing to work with you. I just like to keep my soul pretty clean. Okay, so I'm typing this in now. So free session. You can also just go to my website at enlivenyoursoul.com and then click on free consulting session, and you can apply there for that. Okay, so let's get to the questions display. Okay, I think that should come in. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but let's get to some questions. So those, but those people who want to apply for those sessions, all I ask is that like you come ready and that like you're actually serious. So if you really know that you want to get your book out within the next year, then go ahead and apply. If you're just going to keep this book thing like an idea, a dream of yours, that's okay for you, but I would really rather keep these sessions for people that actually want to go ahead and put their books together. So let us go to Q&A. So I see 1,000,001 questions coming in here. Okay, so B says, is there such a thing as being too engulfed in the process of focusing on your book? So there is a point in writing your book when, especially when you're working on your draft, that you have to say enough is enough. Like, you can't change another letter in here. You can't change another word. You just have to say enough is enough. So I think sometimes you'll kind of know when you get to that point based on if you find yourself, if you're really just extra stressed out and you keep finding yourself coming back to it, but really not making a lot of significant changes, then it's time to put it down. Pass it off to an editor or have a beta reader or someone else come in and read it for you, and then, keep it moving. The thing that's going to really help you to keep moving too is your timeline. When you set up your strong timeline and you say, this month is for this next month is for this week I'm working on this. When you are able to have that strong timeline, it's going to keep you moving, keep you going along. All right. So, so definitely. Someone asked me about these sessions. What do they need to bring to the session? So the free strategy sessions, I have a process that I take you through. So I'm going to have some interview questions for you. Some of them you probably can think of, and some of them you probably won't be able to think of. But this helps me to really get into your mind and see exactly what I think you need to do to achieve success for your goals. So that being said, you don't need to really bring anything. Just be willing to, be open. That's pretty much it. Okay. Another question about writer's block. What are some tips that you can give when you have writer's block? So I believe I am a great writer, but I just can't get it out anymore. So writer's block. There are lots of different things that you can do as far as writer's block, but sometimes I think that writer's block comes in when either you start to have some of those doubts that come up, or maybe the inspiration is just left at that moment. So there are millions of other things that you need to do as an author. So be willing to kind of step away for that moment, and then come back to it. Maybe write a blog about something, or go read another book, or do some research on marketing. You know, you can use that time effectively where you can still further your book dream along, and maybe you're not actually writing at that particular moment. So think deeply for yourself as to, why is this block here? Am I feeling some type of fear around the actual publishing of the book, perhaps? Do I think I need to do some more research on my particular topic? You know, what is the reason for this block? And then once you identify the true reason for the block, you'll be able to get through it a lot more. And don't underestimate the storyboard, you know, and just kind of doing those brain dumps sometimes. Like a lot of times writer's blocks comes in when you're actually trying to wordsmith and you want to put each word, you know, all the sentences together. Just do a brain dump sometimes when you're getting to that point of, what do I write about next? Just dump it all out from your brain. Just start typing. You don't worry about the words. You don't really worry about even, does it make sense? Typos, don't even worry about typos. Just start typing, get it out. And then you'll find sometimes that you're able to kind of reinvigorate yourself through that. All right, so Shar says, you have no idea how much motivation you're giving me. Great, I'm glad to hear that. Are there websites available for us to use as templates? I'm not sure if you're talking about templates for marketing plans, for the interior design, or for the cover. In my publishing programs, I do give, you know, templates for all of those things. So yes, there are some places that you can get templates. They may not always be free. Let me think if I can think of some place, like a website where you can get, I can't think of one where you can get it free, but you can just Google and see if you come up with something for free. I'm sorry, I can't think of a free one right now. But yes, using templates does help you. And I use those a lot with my clients so that it helps them get what they need to get done in a quick and easy way. Okay. Latrina says, awesome information to help get started. Considering the storyboard, then again, okay, we'll research the outline method. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, whatever you need to do in order to get the information out of your head and onto paper, whether that is the storyboard or the outline method, you know, go for it. Okay. So Deborah says, do you cover Lightning Source at a later point? With Lightning Source, there's an opportunity to set up the books with the discount the publisher wants. So yes, absolutely. With Lightning Source, you can set your discount. You have a variable. You can set your discount, I think, as low as 20% for the standard, you know, for the industry discount. What that means, though, is that not all booksellers will want to work with you because you're not giving them as much money as they will if they work with someone else. That also means that Amazon sometimes doesn't like to show that type of book in the, like, if you like this book, you may also like this book. You know how they show those like recommendations? They don't like to recommend some of those books that have a lower discount as much as they do the books that have a higher discount. So naturally, booksellers want to work with those who are giving them the largest discount. For Create Space and for Ingram Spark, I think you cannot set a lower discount. You have to go with either, I think it's 40 or 55%. I don't remember right now exactly off the top of my head. But for those of you who know that you're going to drive most of the traffic to Amazon or to those sites for your sales, like if you know that you're going to be pushing all of your customers to those sales, then it may be more beneficial to sign up with Lightning Source so that you can set a lower discount and reap more of the profits from that. So those are some like technical details. It really kind of depends on your book, and I would have to talk to you a little bit more to see which one will be best for you. Okay, so I'm looking to see, okay, how does this work? So Shar says, how does this work for my fictional books? I write different genres of books. My first one is science fiction. Do I follow these same guidelines? So yes, all of these things that I mentioned in here are for both nonfiction as well as fiction books. When you're working with fiction, of course, you really need to know more about the plot of your story. Who are your characters? um, what's the theme of your book, what are your characters' motivations. That's what I find most often with some first-time authors writing fiction novels, is that their characters are really flat. They haven't done enough work to really think more deeply about what are these characters' motivations, like what are they after, what is the evolution of this character in the book. So really spending some time, if you are a fiction author, really spending some time thinking about who your characters are. You might need to do some research even on that. If you set the setting of your book in Southern California, for example, and you've never lived in Southern California, you might need to either go visit Southern California or do some research. If you have a book about someone that is a botanist, and maybe you have a surface level understanding of botany, but you don't have a deep level, you need to do some research so that your book can be realistic. So there's some things that go into the writing of fiction books that's a little bit different from nonfiction, but the other things as far as the publishing, all that stuff is the same. So is it okay for me to build a website before my first book? Absolutely. So building a website, having a place online where people can find you is critical in this day and age. You must have a place online for people to find you. And honestly, having just a Facebook page is not enough. You need to have your own place that you can post for yourself. So that's one of the reasons why I said to consider using like www.yourname.com, because the title of your book may change. You may not know exactly what you want to, what the final title for your book is going to be. And then maybe you put out another book next year and another book 3 years from now. So this one site can be built up and be your home for all of those works that you do, not just this one, your one book. Okay, so someone else asks me about my private clients. So I do take on private clients. Hold on. So I do take on private clients periodically, throughout the time. I do group programs and I also do private programs. So really it depends on the level of support that someone needs. So some of my private clients don't really want to have to do the work on doing their cover design, or they need more input into the organization of their book. So they hire me for that. Some people are able to really follow my system and they can follow it, and then they join our group program. They get the support they need within there, and then they're off, and they do it on their own with support from me, but not like the intimate day-to-day type of decisions. So really it just depends on what type of support you need. You can email me at zarina@nia.net. So I'll put that into the chat box, and then I would be glad to talk to you about that. Or really, if you just apply for one of those sessions, and if you get in, then we'll talk about that as well. Okay, let's see. So this is your time. I don't have to go get the kids yet. Let's see if I see any more questions that I missed. Let's see. Okay, Kia says she plans to hire a ghostwriter because she doesn't have time, but not sure if the price is right. What is the average range for ghostwriters? It really, 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 really varies for ghostwriters. It depends on the experience level that you get. It depends on the length of book. It can really, it has a wide range. But I would really say if you're looking for someone to write a book, most novels fall into between, like, let's say 80,000 and 115,000 words or so. So if you're looking for someone to like write a book of that length, at least a couple of $1,000s, maybe more than that. And that's for a low end. That would be a low end ghostwriter. So plan on putting some money into that. Let's see. Okay, so Latrina says, don't worry about the words. Do I just write down my thoughts? So many, I am concerned about the order. So what it means is that no book starts out from, like, great books don't come from the writing, they come from the editing. So when I'm saying, like, don't worry about the words, I mean, like, just get it down when you're first starting. Don't try to wordsmith it. Don't worry about the grammar. Don't worry about each individual sentence. Just get it out of your head and down. When you come back and edit, you will then be able to polish it. But if you try to polish it from the beginning, you're going to get mired into all of that. It's going to get you stuck. You're really not going to be able to move forward. So you do everything in phases. The first phase is just to get it out of your head, get it down. Then you're going to go through and edit. So you're going to worry about the words in the later phase, but not in the very, very, very beginning. You don't care about the order even at the very beginning. Just get it down out of your head and onto paper. Okay, so Kitu says she's writing her book about how she stopped being a victim. That's the book title she's interested in writing. Okay, great, Kitu, that sounds really good. Okay, so if you want to re-watch this webinar, can you do so from the link? Once this webinar is done, I think it will send you a replay link, and you can go ahead and rewatch it from there. Also, if there are any things that I did not cover, so I know that I packed a lot in here, but if you have things that you're like, whoa, I really wanted to know about this and she didn't cover that, then type that in, send me a message, type it in here so that I can improve and add whatever information you need to this webinar as well. I'm going to do a couple of more webinars within the next couple of weeks. So I'll be sending you all a lot of free information. I'll send you all links to those other webinars that are going to take each part of this and go more in depth. And that way you'll have a lot more information as well. Okay, so what is the best self-publishing company for a beginner? So I'm not sure, Shar, if you mean self-publishing like Lulu or self-publishing like CreateSpace or such. I would say for your printing, you want to look at Ingram Spark, CreateSpace, or Lightning Source. Lightning Source for a beginner is probably not necessary, actually, from the beginning. Even though I went that route, it may not be necessary for you. But look up Lightning Source, look up CreateSpace, and look up Ingram Spark. Also BookBaby. Look up those four and then do some evaluation between those. And you can see which one you want to go. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Are there any? Okay, so Queen Cisse is saying, I am working on my first book, a memoir. Any advice for me? I am kind of nervous. Laugh. Shukran, thanks. Okay, so now a memoir. Memoirs. Memoirs are vulnerable. I guess that's the best way to say it. So when you are writing a memoir, you're sharing things that, and you're writing a compelling memoir, you're sharing things that a lot of other people don't want to talk about usually. And the reason that you're sharing that is because that's what makes the story real. A lot of humans, like, we like to kind of hide the dark stuff. We don't want to talk about the challenges. We don't want to talk about our fears. We don't want to talk about our doubts. We don't want to do any of those types of things. So when you're writing a memoir, though, in order to really connect to your reader, that sense of vulnerability has to be there. And so they have to be able to connect to you. So a memoir has to be genuine, and it has to be honest, it has to be vulnerable. So that means you have to do some work to build up yourself as an author and be ready to put yourself out there. Now, when you are in that vulnerable place, that's when you get a lot of the response. You know, you think about really popular memoirs, they're sharing things that, you know, like their worst fears or like the worst thing they ever did. And that's when you're like, oh man, like they really came through something. You really connect to that reader. So I just want you to know that when, you know, writing a memoir is writing it from a place of vulnerability. So you're going to need to do some work to really build up yourself and make sure that you're ready for the response that's going to come with that. I have one lady that's writing a memoir now about surviving domestic violence for over 30 years. And she kind of waited a long time to write the story. And she came to me, she wanted to use a pen name. She's oscillating now between this pen name and then using her real name. She feels as though like nothing's going to happen to her, but she doesn't want to bring, she doesn't want to kind of shed a negative light on her husband, who is still her husband, but kind of like ex-husbandish, separated. She doesn't want to shed a negative light, so she's considering using this pen name. But the memoir is real. So, writing about domestic violence, she's writing about something that's really, really serious, but also about her own feelings and how she was able to survive that. So if you're working on a memoir, just know that it has to be real. If you're not going to be willing to be honest and really share your real feelings, and share the darker sides, like the harder stuff, then don't write it. Because it's like, who's going to want to read that? It's going to sound fake. So just don't write it if that's the route you want to be. If you want to play it safe, don't write a memoir. Okay, so someone says the ghostwriter I found has a publishing company and has a separate contract for advertisement and marketing, but they want 60% royalties. Is this normal? This is why I needed your seminar for me. Time is what I do not have, but I want the book out. Okay, so I don't like that. I don't like this contract. I don't like the way it sounds, because what it sounds like to me is that the ghostwriter like is trying to have a monopoly over everything. So I have a publishing company and I also do the marketing and advertisement and I do this and I do that. Like I don't think you want the same person who's writing the book, to do all of those other things for you. So I would say that you take that one, like you have that one person that you reached out to. Now your job is, if you really want a ghostwriter, then you need to find some others and you need to compare the contracts that they would offer. So you never accept the first one that you're talking to. So get some research, some other ghostwriters. Maybe even if this is your first book, I would say even take the time to do up to 10 interviews. Research 10 ghostwriters, get their quotes and get their approach to how they would work for you for this book. This one I'm a little bit leery of, just because they're trying to do everything. And sometimes, sometimes people can't do every single thing. So get some, get some research from them and see what they have done before. Okay, so someone's asking about, let me see, Char's asking about interior design. Char, type in exactly what do you want to know about interior design, because there's like a million things I can mention about that. Fonts and spacing between the words, hyphenation. So what exactly do you want to know about interior design? Okay. Okay, so I don't think I see any other, I'm going to wait for Shar to write that in, but I don't see any other real questions in here. So I'm telling you guys, this is your time. The kids are not here. If you want to type in any questions, I put this time aside for you. So type in any questions that you may have. If there's something that I did not cover that you think I should have covered, go ahead and type that in. If you want to get more information about either my private, how I work with you privately or with group programs, then send me a message for that. Go ahead and visit I'll put the link back up for that. If you want to enroll in one of the sessions that I'm offering, I'm only going to be able to do 15 of those. So there's not a lot. So go ahead and I think a few of them were already taken. So go ahead and just register for that, apply for that there at that site, and you can secure one of those sessions that will be scheduled in the next upcoming week or so. So again, that's only for you if you're serious. Like, don't do it if you're not serious. Okay, I don't think I see any more questions. So going once with the questions, going twice with the questions. I'll wait for one more second. If I don't see any other questions, then we will call it an evening. Let me scroll back down just to make sure I didn't miss anything anyone said. Okay, one sister said her book subject is poetry containing Islamic messages. Great. Okay. Okay. Great. Okay, wonderful. So thank you all for coming on this evening. I hope you got a lot of information about it, about publishing. And again, whatever you did not get answered, go ahead and send me an email, zarina@nia.net. I'll type that in for you all. Actually, it will come, I think, in an email that you'll get after this. So you all can send me any information you have. Oh, one last question someone says is, how would you rate Lulu? Stay away from Lulu. Just don't go to them. Stay away. I don't even rate them. Just stay away. There's no reason to go to Lulu. They overcharge for lots of things, and I don't really see where people get a lot of value from what they're getting with Lulu. So don't really go from that. Okay. Great. So people are waiting for your book. The world is waiting for your message. So this is your year, 2015. Claim it as this is my year for my book. I really want you to say it. If I can have you all scream it out, you can say it in your room. I don't care if you're in the library or whatever. Say 2015 is my year. So you say it. 2015 is my year. Claim it that you're going to get this book done. Whatever support you need, I am here for you. If you want to use a book, find it. Just do whatever you need to do in order to get your book done. Don't sit on your message. Don't just allow yourself to just keep that thing inside of you, because it's going to eat away at you continuously. It's going to eat away at you. So you don't want to just hold that stuff inside. Get it out. Okay, actually, we have one more question. So Tamara says, I have a potential for several, 2 large manuscripts of poetry, but I cannot decide how to compose a final draft or a rough draft. Basically, I'm not sure on which poems to pull off for a draft. What would be a suggestion? First, let me say that poetry is a very difficult genre to sell. I'll just be really honest with you with that. So you need to do a lot of work with building up your author platform, because poetry is not something that people search out for as much. You know, people aren't typing in to Google books of poetry by such and such. Like, they're not really searching for that as much. It has to kind of come across them, and then they will purchase it. So you need to build your author platform. Spend some time in doing that. Okay. So once you build up your platform, how you decide which are your strongest poems, why don't you do some sharing? You know, share your poems and see which ones get the most comments. Maybe share your poems with either either viewers or listeners at poetry places, or either through your social media pages. You know, share those things and then see what the response is going to get. Whichever the ones are the most strong and whichever ones bring the most engagement about, then those are the messages, those are the poems that you're going to want to use, right? So you're going to want to go from there. And then you'll be able to decide from that. You probably won't be able to decide all on your own, so just share it. And then if you have anyone that's skilled in poetry, or someone that's in your target audience, maybe get 5 people from your target audience and ask them to read all your poems, and ask them to pick out however many you think you want to include in your book, 15, 20, whatever. You know, ask them, which 15 would you pick? And then see which ones are most often selected by those beta readers that you have. You can go from there. Okay, so the last thing I want you all to type into the chat box, I want you to type 2015 is my year. 2015 is my year. Type that into the chat box, and then we're going to sign out. So type it in, 2015 is my year. I want to see everybody, because I don't want anybody half-stepping. If you really want to do this book, then claim it for yourself. 2015 is my year. Type that into the chat box, and then we're going to say Good night. So type it in. 2015 is my year. All right. Imeta Bunny Jones, 2015 is your year. I see you had a last question. I'll come to you. Send me an email and I'll talk to you privately, or apply for one of these sessions. I'll talk to you privately about choosing the topic for your book. All right, Tamara, 2015 is your year, or Tamara, 2015. Shelly, good job. 2015 is your year. You're going to get this book done. Wonderful. Romana, 2015 is your year. Wayakum, I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys put together. Kia, 2015. Kitu, 2015. Imeta, 2015. B, 2015 is your year. Nepsat, 2015 is your year. Awesome. I am really going to hold this to you guys. I have your emails because you registered for this site, for this webinar. So I'm going to hold you guys to 2015 being your year. Jacqueline, 2015, wonderful. Adam, wonderful. 2015. Jack, 2015, wonderful. Shireen, 2015, wonderful. Working on your book on social media marketing, wonderful. We'll be looking for that. Everybody needs that social media marketing book. All right, wonderful, great. I'm excited for you all. 2015 is your year. If you need my help, let me know. Otherwise, get it done. All right, so the world is waiting for your book. Have a great evening. Good night.